What is up, YouTube? Welcome back to Crypto Gangs. This your boy D-Rec coming at you with part 8 in Introduction to Cryptocurrencies. And in this video, I want to talk about centralized versus decentralized blockchains. And I'm going to be going over this article because I found that this article was short, sweet, and to the point. I won't be sharing the link because I'm recording this video way ahead of time before I even upload this video. And I may lose the link. So what I'll do is go ahead and give you guys the link here right now. Let's see if I can move this up. I guess I can't move it. Let's see. Yes, I can. All right. As you can see right up here, that's what you would type into your browser to get to this link to read this article for yourself. And I want to give credit to the author as well, and this is the person whom I cannot pronounce that name. I'll try. Tassandra, I don't know. I don't know, guys. I'm butchering it, but that's that. But before I get into this video, I want you guys and girls out there to close your eyes and imagine this story that I'm going to tell you. Imagine you move to a new town. The population of that town is approximately 5,000 men, women, and children. And among those 5,000 individuals, there are 5 men and women who sit on a council who decides who can use the city's water and who cannot. Now, also imagine that out of the 5 of those individuals, 3 of them can't stand you. They don't like you. You're not from there. And therefore, they have a bias against you. How horrible is that? Because more than likely, they're going to vote that you cannot use their city water. You are being discriminated against by those 3 that sit on the council who has total control and authority over who can drink, use the city's water. Now, on the flip side, imagine you move to a new town of approximately 5,000 people, and 5,000 people decides who can use or not use the city's water. Well, that's not totally it, but that's basically the difference between centralized and decentralized blockchain. Now, if you guys don't totally get it, I understand that, because it's kind of something hard to understand or hard to grasp if it's new to you. So I chose this article to kind of go over, and I'm going to kind of briefly go over it. I hate to just sit here and read to you guys, but I feel like this article is a good one. It doesn't cover everything, but it does go over the basics in my opinion. So I'll kind of start it off here. The similarities between centralized and decentralized blockchains. From a technological standpoint, both centralized and decentralized blockchains are very similar, as both are distributed peer-to-peer networks where every node is responsible for storing and securing the shared ledger. Both public and private, meaning decentralized and centralized blockchains, require a consensus mechanism like proof of work or proof of stake among nodes to establish a single ledger. Both of these types of blockchain also have to provide upper and lower bounds on the security and efficiency of the network. The differences between centralized and decentralized blockchains. The biggest factor that differentiates public blockchains versus private ones, that's decentralized from centralized ones, is the pool of nodes that can participate in the network. and make administrative changes to the network. So for example, Bitcoin, which is the largest public or decentralized blockchain in the world, has no barrier to entry when it comes to accessing the ledger and sharing computer power to execute its proof of work algorithm. By contrast, IBM's Hyperledger Fabric is more customizable in the sense that the organization that is deploying the blockchain has a say in every aspect of blockchain participation. In other words, they can deny or grant access as they see fit. Private or centralized blockchains are typically more restrictive in who they allow making changes to the ledger, as they use the blockchain for the internal records. Advantages of decentralized blockchain. Decentralized blockchains like Bitcoin, which is the most popular blockchain in the world, has very high security because of the enormous amount of mining resources that go into secure the network. That means to coordinate a successful attack on the Bitcoin network, a malicious actor would have to acquire a massive amount of resources, which is economically unviable. Another advantage is that anyone can use the network to send funds to any part of the world without going through an intermediary, which means you eliminate the middleman, which means no one can tell you you can help your friend across the world, which means also that the fees to send those funds are extremely cheap versus wire transfer via your bank account. Now, there are some disadvantages. Disadvantages of decentralized blockchain. Due to their public nature, public blockchains like Bitcoin are susceptible to all kinds of analysis that can reveal more information about the network participants, making the blockchain less private. The massive amount of miners mining on the network means that difficulty, needs to keep increasing, thereby leading to mostly useless computations done by miners to outcompete each other. So I'm going to stop there for a second and kind of talk about the first part of this paragraph, and that's how everything is visible on the blockchain, which is good in a way, and it can also be negative in a way, depending on what your purpose is of using that blockchain at that moment. It's good in a way that it keeps everybody honest. It's bad in a way if you're wanting to make private transactions that you don't, want everyone to really know about, or you don't want to give them a way to find out who you are and why you're doing these transactions. So it kind of exposes you in a sense, but there are ways around that. It just takes more time and more effort and more knowledge to keep your transactions private. And there are also other tools out there that are being created to put on the Bitcoin blockchain to make these transactions private when you want to use those features. But the cool thing is that decentralized blockchains is that no one can restrict you. No one can tell you, no. No one can tell you, you can't do that, but I can. No one can control you, man. And that's what makes decentralized blockchains awesome for everyone in the world. Disadvantages. There we go. Bitcoin transactions cost about as much electricity that is required to power an average. It is estimated every Bitcoin transaction is to power average home for 8 days. Now, this article was written in 2018. There have been features already implemented, and there are many more features coming to the Bitcoin blockchain to eliminate this issue. Now, the only thing about that is that I think it is high in electricity to run these miners to mine Bitcoin and get these transactions moved. But Bitcoin is a deflationary coin. In other words, there's not more to be created. So that also adds to the value of Bitcoin. And I know that may be hard to understand, but I definitely wanted to say that. Maybe you can kind of do more research into that as well, as this is one of the main features in Bitcoin that gives it its value. So, it's kind of hard to say if that's a disadvantage. I mean, I can see the disadvantage in it, but it's kind of built to, give it value. And they say, therefore, public ledgers are not very environmental friendly. And that's not necessarily true as well. Like I said, this was in 2018, this article was written. But you also have some blockchains going over into proof of stake, which requires a ton less of energy to mine and get these transactions moved across the blockchain. Advantages of centralized blockchain, which there are, there may be good reasons to have centralized blockchains. I just think that they should be for specific things only. For instance, a business that needs to store information or make transactions and they only want to do it through their network and keep things completely private, then obviously a centralized blockchain would be the way to go. I would agree on that part. Centralized blockchains offer much more customizability and control over the network, keyword, to the organization deploying it, as they can decide who gets to participate in the network. That means that not as much resources have to be invested in competing to secure the network, which makes centralized blockchains more environmentally friendly compared to decentralized counterparts. In a sense, that is true. Like I said, they may only, require, 11 miners to mine and get these transactions done. So therefore, it's cheaper to do it as far as energy is concerned. But there are ways that decentralized blockchains are eliminating that problem, which in my mind isn't a problem. Like I said, for Bitcoin, that's what gives value to the coin, being that it's deflationary. No more Bitcoins can be printed once the max is reached. This also means that they have higher overall they have higher overall throughput, because I don't know what that means. I'm lost on that. But anyway, they get to decide the hardware that the network runs on. In practice, this means that corporations could use private blockchains to store sensitive information among nodes that they trust. This allows them to use the incredible power of blockchains without having to make the sensitive information public, which is definitely a positive, especially dealing with institutions. So here are the disadvantages that they list in this article. Since there is not as much computing power securing the network as in the case of decentralized blockchains, centralized blockchains are less secure. It only requires a few of the nodes hosting the network to collude by amassing enough resources to hack the network. Also, since transactions are not publicly viewable, it is harder to verify the authenticity of the transactions for an outside party. Also, since private ledgers are not available for public use, they are of little use to anyone besides the corporation that deployed them. So guys, girls, ladies and gentlemen, that's a gist to it. Like I said, if you want to read this article for yourself, it's on recordskeeper.co/blog/centralized versus decentralized blockchain. Put that in your browser, hit enter, and it should take you to this article. And I think it's a very cool article. Obviously, this is a little bit outdated since it was created in 2018, and here we are at the peak of summer of 2019. So guys, girls, ladies and gentlemen, if you're new to the channel, definitely subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications, thumb up this video, and share that playlist, Introduction to Cryptocurrencies, with anyone who you think it may help. With that being said, until next time, peace, dog.